with the Microsoft DHCP server and VART clients that cannot get the IP address. In this setup, as you can see, I have a basic IPClos fabric with service leaf, scores, and access. Access is a physical switch, the rest are virtual. And I have a client attached to one of the port GE000 in this case, right? There is a .1x and DHCP, and it should be assigned on VLAN 1033. If we go to MIST, we should see that this is the port, right? We have a .1x enabled, which is VLAN 1030, and we have .1x. For that authentication and authorization, we're using Cisco NACK server, which is pre-configured, and that's for different series. But one of the main things that we often see is the DHCP server is configured over here, and we have a scope. The address is pool defined from 100 to 199. We have leases, reservation, and options as a regular Anycast gateway. It could be virtual gateway address, it doesn't matter, and then regular DNS server. The problem is, what we see very often is I am running Warshark, that when the client requests the IP address, this is from the switch directly attached to the client interface, and this is on that VLAN towards the DHCP server. So what do we see? That the client gets IP address, but unfortunately get assigned it, but the server replies with NACK. So in this case, this is the client. Let me log in. As I mentioned, I'm not gonna go into the settings for the .1x, but quickly look at it. As we can see in security, I'm protected by Eve, and there's a username and password, and that's authenticate, and that's what allows. And then the second step is DHCP. So if I click on enabled, which we can see, we should see client send DHCP request. Let's filter out the traffic only on DHCP. If I can just type DHCP. So as we can see, I have a discovery, we have, and there you go, NACK. After discovery of a request, there's a NACK, and this is seen on the client, and this is seen on the server. Same thing, DHCP. So let me stop the client sending new request and new request, because it's not going anywhere, right? And we could see, if I bring in, this is the switch, we could see the interface, and we see that the client got authenticated, right? This is a dynamic filter bit regarding GBP, but we're still not getting DHCP address. If we look over here, this is a regular configuration. This will be the loopback, and if we look at show configuration, display set match DHCP, we're interested in the VLAN 1033. This is all configured by MIST. I have to do anything manually. Show Ethernet switch, show ARP. No reply, no resolve. We can see that we haven't learned anything on the G00, which would correspond to what we're seeing. So there's a discovery. We can see this relay agent is actually on that switch. It's loopback. As soon as this refresh, we'll see that this switch is a virtual switch. Relief one right here. And there's a loopback. In this case is loopback 172.16.193.13. That's the loopback, and you can see it right here. This is generated automatically by MIST, and it's generated from the subnet that we provide during our fabric creation, right? Which is right here, per VRF, per switch. On my device, I only have one VRF. I scroll down and we can see, well, there's multiple VRF, but this is the only VRF that I'm using. It's called devices. And the port that we're talking about is this one, right? EX4300. It's actually VLAN 1032, if I can see correctly. EX4400. Yes. But that's that VLAN, right? That's the important stuff. We can see that the relay works correctly. In this case, it's a relay that is configured on that switch for both VLAN 1032 and VLAN 1033, and it goes to the DHCP server. In our case, right here. So the client comes from here. This is the relay. It's using loopback, and it's trying to contact the DHCP server, right? This is the discovery. Well, the server sees it and says, well, there you go. This is your IP address, 1033.105, right? Oh yes, we do have configured the port GG0 as VLAN 1032, but if I bring back the NACK, we're overriding it via our NACK network access to VLAN 1033. That's the VLAN that we are assigning. That's our NACK assigned regardless what the switch configures, and then the GBP tag and the policy, right? So in our case, it's VLAN 1033, not VLAN 1032, regardless what the port says, because NACK is the one who configures that port. So we can see this is your IP. The client says, all right, I want to use that IP, right? I'm using that relay server again, and this is the requested IP, 1033.33.105, which is the same thing as the server is giving you, correct? But the server sends back, nope, you're not having it. And then same thing repeats, discovery offer request NACK. Right? And people been asking why is that happening? The simple reason is it has to do with the high gig address, which is the relay 172.16.193. Microsoft DHCP server are a bit fickery. They use high gig address, which in our case it's a loopback as the source. If this doesn't apply, then they use, during the discovery in option 82, they use this option 11, which is server ID override. That server ID override is defined on our switch with this option. That is the option 11. Without this, the switch will not even give you offer. If I remove this, we can see that the switch will not give an offer. So while we had this demo, let's do that. Let's deactivate it. Deactivate. Commit. Quit, and then we can repeat our command. I apologize, I'm losing voice, so like everybody getting sick, and we should see that that option is disabled. So now if that client, wherever it is, will request the packet again, I'll just bring it in, type in if, we should just see discovery but no offer. Discover. And there should be discover messages. We'll see that both on a client and on a server. The server is basically not responding because our discovery packet in option 82, there's no suboption 11. It just basically doesn't know what VLAN to use or which scope, right? In our case 1033, because it doesn't apply to any of that. So that flag is very, very important, and we need to have it there. And it is by default. Junos does added it. So let's shut this down. And now, how to fix that, right? So how do we fix this NACK so it doesn't, as I mentioned, it has to do with the high kick, right? It's this IP address. Now we are getting an offer, but the request and the acknowledgement, that's the issue. So the way to around it is you literally have to create a scope on this server, new scope, and the scope will be go backs or IP address, starting address will be 172.16. In this case, I'll do 193/0. I'll actually do, sorry, oops. New scope. If I just learn the type. 172.16.193.1, and the end address will be 172.16.193.254. This really doesn't matter. It's /24. It's not 16. So, all right. 24. And I don't have to do any of it. I'll just click on yes, and that's it. Did it actually configure that? Come on. Go back. Third time is the lock. Third time is the charge. Go back. 172.16. 193.1. 172.16, 193, 100. It really doesn't matter. Like I mentioned, it doesn't matter what we have put here. 24, nothing for exclusion. This is fine. Configure. Yes, I want to configure his options now. And this is a default gateway. This could be skipped. This is also skipped. Vins we can skip. And yes, I want to activate the scope now. And click on finish. Now what I go then to do is click on, once the scope is activated, I'm gonna deactivate it because I don't need it for anything. It's a bit useless. But that's the magic that gets me from NACK to ACK. Literally, that's all it is. It's on the Windows, it's not our fabric, it's not the host. Right, so we'll come again here. Let's see what IP address we have now. None. So let's enable it. And let's watch here. We should see discovery, offer, request NACK. Discovery. It will help if I roll back. If I just roll back the change, correct? Roll back one. So now we're activating it. DHCP. Right, so that is correct. Once this is committed, which it's the option 82 sub option 11, enable it, and now we should see it. And there you go. This is the acknowledgement, right? And that's all that's all what is there to it. And we should see that we have Elisa's. Well, not on the inactive scope, but there should be Elisa's here. And if we don't, then you can try to enable debug, which is local disk Windows system DHCP. And well, the debug, you have to click on IPv4 option on the properties and enable DHCP auditing log. When you do that, you can come here, today is Wednesday, And when we scroll down, we can see the NACK, same client, and then we're gonna see assigning 105, the name of the client and all of it. So it is, you have to create, again, you have to create inactive scope for the loopbacks, right? It could be a whole subnet that you create on a firewall, regardless of whatever it is, right? But it just have to exist, and that's how you get your acknowledgement.
Thank you for watching.